Hello and welcome to Sovereign RPG. I am Sovereign and today we are doing a video straight from the hospital room which my son is in. We got some massive news today, so I couldn't wait to get home. I apologize if the microphone quality is pretty shit today. I'm doing it from my mobile phone, so hopefully we don't get too many around sounds and my son doesn't wake up screaming for the next bottle, which will likely be the case, or he'll end up shitting everywhere, which is either way, it's rough. So let's get straight into what today's announcement is. Now this was done literally a couple of minutes ago. I was just added in my Discord for this information, and this information is quite large. They've given us a little bit of information on how they're going to try to prevent script cheats, so bots that actually play the game for you. Now, because we're getting closer to the launch, we're 2 months away, they're starting to want to give us more development stuff, and they started to talk about this in the very first edition of launch preview. So they'll be discussing how they can counteract and resolve script cheating. So they go on to give you a little bit of information about how script cheats work, and they go on to tell you that the information, it only takes 30 minutes from creating a new character to finishing the tutorial, and then afterward a bot could be enabled to begin producing ISK. Now, because of HiSec being no PvP, bots could be running 24/7 with no interruption. So this would need to have something put into the game itself. And one of those things is helping to slow it down by giving alpha pilots some restrictions in the way they play the game. They're giving you a little bit of information here showing you how to do simple encounters. So the basic missions, they can earn between 10,000 and 30,000 ISK. The average time to finish a mission is normally less than 5 minutes, but can go upwards of 30 minutes in HiSec, all of which cannot be interrupted by other players. As we were saying earlier, with HiSec not being PvP. So they did a little bit of maths here for you, and they basically 10 times 30,000 times 24. So roughly they'll be making 7,200,000 ISK every 24 hours without any input, doing the simplest of missions. This actually turns out to be quite a lot of ISK, and they could make quite a lot of money selling this RMT. They also give a little bit of information, and they put a little diagram here for you to show you how the new character goes into planet interaction and earns ISK in encounters and accumulates the revenue and abandons the character. So all productions in game can be trading. And they go on to give you a little bit of information how Eve Echoes is actually all productions in the game can be traded. So anything that you make, anything that you collect can be traded. So they can exchange the ISK and Plex from one account to another account, and that one account can then go on to sell and make stuff, an RMT for example. Now if you don't know what RMT is, real money transactions. So basically it's just selling in-game ISK or items, ships, etc. for real life money. And with the alpha accounts, bots can be created without limitation and can gain profit from inside of the game. And it can be very difficult to actually distinguish between a real player and a bot, as the developers have said. And this can affect the actual market of the game, and it can cause so many problems, even in allowing it for just a short amount of time. And they can make hefty profits in small amounts of time, with enough access and enough accounts. So developers might not be able to block or ban players who are doing this in time before it's already affected the actual market itself. So what they're going to do is add some preparations. And alpha clones will be happy to know that the restrictions are not going to be as bad as we once thought they were. As an attempt to prevent cheaters and bots from utilizing alpha clones as their means of misconduct, we have set restrictions to alpha clone under the premise that these changes will not affect the overall gaming experience for real players. The newly implemented cans and can'ts are as follows. So what the alpha clones can do: alpha clones can have full access to the Interstellar Trade Center, the ITC, and immerse themselves in the player-driven market of Eve. So they can buy, they can sell, they can do everything inside of ITCs. The alpha clones have full access to the items in Corp Hangar and are able to accept help from Corp members. This was a big problem that a lot of people were having, that they wouldn't be able to actually help their Corp being alpha players. Now you can actually do that, and your Corp can actually help you. Alpha clones also have full access to planet interaction, industry, combat encounters, and is able to team up with friends. This one is massive because everyone thought that the industry would be completely locked off. Now, through everyone's feedback and everyone's suggestions that they put through inside of the videos in the channel, inside of the actual suggestions in the Eve Echoes Discord, this has been changed. You have affected change by giving your suggestions and by giving your feedback. Now we get onto what they can't do. Alpha clones are denied access to the regional market and contract due to the reason that they are not public and easy to cheat on. So they can access the ITCs, they can sell and buy from ITCs, but they cannot sell from different personal stations, they can't sell from personal marketplaces and from the regional market. And alpha clones are unable to store items in corp hangars to prevent the possibility of having a bot corp to accumulate resources. This is one of my worries when they started talking about having a corp hanger but not allowing alphas to. This was one of the problems. However, alpha clone accounts are normally for newcomers as they may need help from corp members. Therefore, taking items from corp hanger would not be restricted. So your corp can put SRP ships, they can put ships that they're willing to build for the corp on ops, for example, defense ops or mining ops, and they can put them in the corp hanger and alpha characters will be able to take from them, but they will not be able to put in. So you can't have 10 alpha characters putting all of their resources together to one omega character who's the CEO of the bot corp. And then that person can then use that omega account to sell whatever it needs to sell and then sell for real money. So other things that they've added to the game which are quite interesting, and that is operators, they will have operators that monitor the economic status of the game 24/7 in search of bots. Their programmers are continually analyzing the features of bots to fight against them, and even the most well-disguised bots. They're also adding a thing called the Empire Bank Audit. Now this is something that I've never really heard of before. This is something new, and the audit system is developed by State and Region Bank and Bank of Luminaire from Caldari and Galente. It provides resources for auditors of EVE Echoes to strike back the hidden bots among us. EVE Echoes will remain compliant with the policy of the two banks. Certain kinds of transactions of items and ISK will be audited. So they've added sort of like a little RP thing here where they're adding in these two banks that will take control and they'll be able to check all transactions for any criminal or illegal activity. So the two banks will audit the following. They will audit suspicious trading in the market. And you can see how they define suspicious in the following picture. I'll show you that in a second. Suspicious trading in the contract. Jettisoning valuable items, taking valuable items from the corp hanger. So this also means that the jettisons will be available to alphas, I guess, or they may not be available to alphas and only available to omegas, but you will still be checked for jettisoned products. And the two banks will not audit the following: storing valuable items to the corp hanger, fair trading in the market, and fair trading in the contracts. This just means they're going to have real people and scripts that will be checking each and every transaction to make sure that there are no bots, or limit the amount of bots that are actually there. They give a little bit of code here, which isn't actually the code, it's just test code. As people do, they just put it in there as a picture to sort of show you what the code would actually look like, but this isn't actual code. And they have rules of the audit. The bank staff is working on distinguishing real humans and bots as the technique advances. The audit time on human players will gradually decrease. The minimum audit time is 1 hour and the maximum is 30 days. The items can't be moved or used during the audit time. The ISK in audit is temporarily frozen, yet players can choose to view the process in the audit wallet. If we confirmed that the items or ISK are indeed from human players, the audit status will conclude ahead of time. So this is absolutely insane that they're actually going to be, so if you sell something on the market, there will be a time where you will not be able to, the person who's buying the item will not have the item, and the person who's selling will not have the ISK. It seems like that seems odd to me. It seems a little bit odd. When a trader of higher asset value, often the sender transfers items or ISK to a trader of lower asset value, often the recipient, the items in question may go under audit. Okay, so it won't go into audit straight away. What will happen is that if it's like they're selling 1 tritanium for 20 million ISK, that will go under audit. If the value of the items or ISK in question exceeds the threshold set by the system, the items and ISK will be frozen and an audit will be performed. Again, it's the same thing, selling something really expensive for really cheap or selling something really cheap for really expensive. Items of lower value won't be audited and can be traded freely. That's fair enough. The formula and calculation of the audit are shown in the image above. So it's basically showing you, if you know anything about code, which I don't, so I can't explain what any of that means, apologies for that. And they are trying to implement a 2-factor authentication based on the telephone number. If implemented, we will remove certain limitations on the alpha clone. We are endeavoring to eliminate script cheats and any other cheating methods that may present in EVE Echoes. The design is not final. You are more than welcome to leave your feedback and comments below because these matter for us. Once again, we thank you for your continued support. So guys, make sure to go into the Discord, make sure to go into the Eve suggestions, and make sure to leave your feedback, or leave the feedback down in the comments below, and I will manually put those comments into the feedback myself. Again, sorry for what I'm only imagining will be very poor quality on the microphone, but it's all I can work with right now, and I'm hoping that you do enjoy the video and you did get some information out of this video. This is great news for alpha players, this is great news for Eve echoes in general, and hopefully some of those doomsayers that have been talking shit about how alpha clones were ruining restrictions and blah blah blah, now most of those restrictions have been lifted. Now you're very, very unrestricted, so people will still complain, but it's not going to be as bad as it was. So I thank you all for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe if you haven't already. Fly safe and avoid local chat scams.